since I like the Tesla Geek Show, I'm gonna let this slip. Like I'm trying to launch I don't know what I'm allowed to say about this, but I'm planning to launch a venture fund and like start angel investing. And I have been angel and startup investing, but like really turbocharge that and kind of like disrupt all of VC as my next move. And so I feel so pumped because I'm just like, okay, now we got to like 0 to 1, and now it's about just using the audience and show and capital to like take this all the way. So I feel like this is still just like, the tiniest. It seems exciting like what HyperChange is on now, but it's like nothing compared to what will be in, another 2 years.
Dude, starting your
Dude,
own
that's
fund,
awesome.
that's awesome, man. Is it just gonna be your money? You gotta take outside money as well.
Well,
Take my money, Gali. Take my
That's what
money.
we're saying.
yeah, I mean, I don't know what I'm allowed to say to it because I haven't talked to my lawyer yet.
We can cut
But
whatever we
I've
want.
been investing my personal money in startups for like a year and a half or so, like basically trying to get experience. Like obviously Tesla was a good investment, but like getting into private deals, seed stage, Series A, like dealing with founders. I set up a whole special purpose vehicle, basically a company to buy into another fund to get access to SpaceX. It's like that was something that was super learning experience behind the scenes. Everyone's like yelling at me to get them into SpaceX, but I just couldn't because it was like me doing it for the first time. But I've been kind of making all these behind the scenes moves to try and turn HyperChange into like a venture fund as potentially our next step or launch. Yeah,
So your step two, step three is going beyond content into actual financial vehicles, financial instruments. And it sounds like at some point HyperChange will be a full-on financial institution.
maybe, maybe. I don't want to say too much, but maybe.
We
Okay,
see where you're
okay.
going, Gali. We know the way these wheels turn. I'm excited
Yeah.
for your future, bro.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
man.
I think it's the problem I'm trying to solve is like, well, there's all these amazing companies, there's all these amazing startup founders, and there's all these people watching my show that are pumped about their products, and we can't connect the bridge of giving them money because there's private investors laws, there's no platform, and it just sucks, and it's stifling innovation, it's making the valuations not as good as they want to be, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, like Allbirds shoes, for example. You probably loved Allbirds shoes. You're probably an early adopter of Allbirds shoes. Like, why couldn't you buy stock in Allbirds? There you go. Exactly. Like, you could have bought stock in them when you bought it when it was a $20 million company. Now it's worth 2 billion, 100x, but you didn't have access to that capital.
What my
So
wife and I wanted to reach out to Allbirds like 5 years ago when they started. I'm not kidding. Like the first batch of Allbirds went out. I'm the guy that bought that, wore them into bed essentially. And I
yeah,
remember telling my wife, be like, "Oh my God, we got to put money in this thing. Like this is gonna be huge." And this was like back in the day when Allbirds was nothing, right? So
yep,
dude.
It
I'm
sounds like
with you, dude, for
one of the
sure.
problems you're trying to solve is give retail investors a play at the things that typically only large institutions and VCs are getting access to, right? Like early
yeah.
access to make potential big money.
Totally. And like the pendulum has swung all the way this way where it's like nobody's getting access, nothing's IPOing until it's 100 billion. And something's, I can feel it, whether it's like AngelList, whether it's Carta, one of these companies is going to build a new exchange. It's going to disrupt NASDAQ or New York Stock Exchange. They're going to revamp the laws for accredited investors. It's going to be way easier. And we're going to digitize all of these cap tables that are all on paper forms. They're going to go transition online. It's going to be accessible. Everybody's going to be able to Robinhood every startup company. It's going to be more liquidity. And so that's why I'm like, okay, companies need capital, economy's crumbling. There's a massive like liquidity tidal wave, like a structural liquidity tidal wave into private companies that's going to open up over the next 3 to 5 years. I'm trying to plant every single seed I can right now because when that liquidity wave opens up and everyone's allowed to buy all these private companies that right now are crushing it, they're going to be, you know, yeah, so it's like this kind of plant seeds mentality before this big tidal wave shift I see where like these private markets really open up and hopefully like we all could buy into SpaceX one day. Like why is that so complicated? Like I heard SpaceX is raising 1 or 2 bill at 44 billion.
I want
I
it.
guarantee everyone in the Tesla community is buying SpaceX hand over fist at 70 billion
Oh hell yeah.
valuation. So Elon, why are you diluting at 44? Like I personally am trying to tell Elon and his team this like, bro, like now that I'm a SpaceX shareholder, like I feel like I'm allowed to get a little more pissed about it. I'm like, dog, like I get phone calls every day from people being like, let me put money into SpaceX. I don't care about the valuation. And then I read the news and we're selling 2 bill to investors who don't give a shit about the company at a cheaper price. And I'm like, bro, like, dog, like, put me in charge of the capital raise. Like, I'm doing it for free. Like, I don't even need a fee, and I'll get you the billion at a 60 billion valuation. So I don't know if SpaceX is listening. Maybe they can hit me up. But
I would take my
um,
Tesla shares and plow it into SpaceX in a heartbeat because I love Tesla. I absolutely believe in the mission. I believe their long-term success is incredible, but my heart's with SpaceX 100%. Like easy, easy money.
Dude, I almost feel guilty because I bought SpaceX, I think 38 billion valuation, but like with fees, it's like 42, 44. So it's basically I'm at break even with this new round, but I'm like, dude, Tesla's worth 330 today. They just closed at 330 billion. SpaceX, Starlink is still embedded in that core equity. Like to me, Starlink is like $100 billion company in like 6 months, no problem. If they keep crushing it with these launches, Starlink rolls out. So
Let's not forget, Boring Company is a subsidiary of SpaceX.
it's not actually.
Oh, they separated off now?
Yeah, well, it's a separate company. It's a separate startup.
Okay.
But they like share engineering kind of resources, like Tesla. That's my
It must have
understanding.
been something
at
else
least.
I was reading about then, because I remember initially some SpaceX investors got pretty upset because Boring Company was siphoning funds, and it must have been what I read is that some of those investors got Boring stock, and I guess that must have been what it was.
I think it was they were pissed because the SpaceX engineers were doing
Yeah.
things for the Boring Company and they didn't get equity in the Boring.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the people who are pissed
Yeah.
off about that, it's like, bro, cry me a river. Like those are the people who Elon shouldn't have let buy into SpaceX that are getting pissed about those things.
That's the problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's the guy who invested in some
Exactly.
VC fund that's like, bro, we have 4 engineers spending 2 hours a week at the Boring Company. Like, let me file a lawsuit about that. Like, that's what that was, I think.
Yeah.